Activity 2.4, what is the aim? We have to separate the dye from blue ink by the process of evaporation. Now I'm going to explain these things in detail. What are the material required, main concept, what is the setup, because you may have to draw the diagram in the answer, right? Observations are really very important. Why? Because the conceptual questions which are going to be there in the exam are based on observations. So without wasting any single second, let's begin the topic. Now this is the diagram I have drawn, and you can see that what is the material which is required. There is a beaker, water in the beaker. I have labeled it well also, right? Without labeling, the diagram is nothing. Watch glass is there, and the blue ink, then the tripod stand, there is a burner also, and the wire gauze, right? So now we have to focus on the main concept. First of all, we have to study and we have to understand also what is being done over here, right? This is the main concept on which the whole activity is based. Now, firstly, blue ink is there, and that is a mixture. Mixture of what? There is blue dye in it. This is non-volatile solute, and that is dissolved in water. That's how the blue ink is formed. And water being solvent, also volatile in nature. That's why which process is good enough to separate these? Evaporation. This is a very simple thing, okay, and you must understand there is non-volatile solute, that is blue dye, and that is to be separated from water. Water is solvent, volatile in nature. That's why we are focusing on the process evaporation. Now what are the steps as per the setup? Now, what is the actual process? What we are doing in this activity? First of all, we have to take this beaker and fill half beaker with water. Okay. Then the next step is there is a watch glass which is having a few drops of ink in this, and place it over this beaker. Now, what happens next? Keep this beaker covered with this watch glass. Watch glass is having ink, right? And whole this setup is, you know, put on the tripod. This is tripod, and there is a burner which is providing heat. And how long you have to heat up this setup? As long as there is the material inside the watch glass. Once the material is gone, you have to stop the heating. Now this is the process on which the observations are made, and on the basis of observations we have so many conceptual questions. So what are the observations? Now this is the observation. A blue residue, that is dye, is left on the watch glass after evaporation of water from the ink. As I told you that this is a simple process of evaporation, and what will get evaporated? Water, leaving the residue which is leftover thing, that is dye. Okay, so this is the observation. Now the first conceptual question is really very easy. What do you think has got evaporated from watch glass? So obviously we will write water has got evaporated. Okay, now the next question will be, now the second question is there a residue on watch glass? Yes, it is dye of ink. As I told you from the diagram, what is left behind? This is the dye of ink, because the water is already evaporated. Now, this question is a little bit tricky. What is your interpretation? That means, what do you conclude? Is ink a single substance? That means it is pure state or it is a mixture. So you will say in the first line of this video, I just told you that ink is what? It is a mixture of dye in water. That means water is solvent and dye is solute. So ink is a mixture of dye and water. Now the last thing is that from this experiment, what type of substances can be separated by this method? That means you have to relate it, to relate the other content to this activity. Okay, you can perform the same experiment on what kind of substances? Obviously the volatile solvent from its non-volatile solute. You can separate a volatile solvent, in this case this is water, non-volatile solute, in this case that is dye. And whatever be the cases of such things, we can go for this method for sure. Okay, so these were the conceptual questions and the whole activity. I hope it is very clear to you. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye bye.